Listen to the lyrics.
I'm bringing sexy back. Yeah. I'm 93, my baby come make land. Yeah. No need for pills with me, and that's a fact. Yeah. My first thing first, baby, get out me fast. Yeah. Take me to the bridge, help me, babe. You see this prison, I'm stuck in this cage. Baby's on delay. It's just my blood, I've seen better days. Take it to the chorus. Come here, girl. Come to the bed. Gonna pee. What we need. You see what I'm working with? Two brand new hips. Can't seem to make you smile. Go ahead, child. Yeah. Get your head in. Get your head in. Get your head in. Get your head in. I'm bringing sexy back. Yeah. I may be old, but baby, I'm the man. Yeah. I'm all about nothing, baby. You are stand. Yeah. Now grab a crowbar, girl. I see your crack. Yeah. Take him to the bridge. Help me, babe. You see this prison, I'm stuck in this cage. There is no bathroom, baby, don't delay. It's just my blood, I've seen better days. Take it to the chorus. Come here, girl. Come to the bed. Gonna be too much green tea. Two brand new hips. Can't seem to make you smile. Go ahead, child. Yeah. Get your head in. 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 It's off the hook.
Oh!
Yo, this has been a head chin remix.
Just found that by accident, right? Yeah.
It was made for us. It's a one-of-a-kind piece, and the creator who made it surprised us with that piece.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was done by Light Formations. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Gene Ford, who started the company, was a good friend of my father's. Gene has since sold out to the other guys. But so Gene did a lot of these projects for a reasonable fee versus what he charged the big museums and stuff he created for. So we were very fortunate. Dr. Ralph here, the throw-up guy. Oh, he's a good one.
I love that guy.
We were at IAPA, and Morris Coster had this really basic styrofoam character with a shaker motor who just shook over a garbage can like he was throwing up. And I told my dad, I'm like, I want to buy that. And like my dad was like, I don't know, you know, I don't think it's going to work. And Gene was there. And my dad found Gene. He goes, come here, I want to show you what Jeremy wants to do. And Gene just lit up like a Christmas tree. It's like, oh yeah, but you're not buying that. He goes, I'm going to make you one.
Buddy, watch it. Thank you.
I love how he's got special buttons.
He usually throws up water, but we've got some pump problems right now, so water. We got it fixed. There we Now what's great about this is a place like this, I would never assume that we get autistic kids that would be comfortable in here. We get so many, it's unreal. There's a kid who's about 28 years old who does not speak to anybody. He comes in here with a bag of quarters. He'll stand right here. When you're walking by, he'll tap you on your shoulder with a big smile on his face. He puts in 50 cents. You know, he wants people to see it. He loves seeing the reaction.
Yeah.
When my dad knew this was the right piece, as we were standing here just one day, two little girls, probably 10, 11 years old, are in here with their mothers. The mothers are sitting down. The girls come up, put their quarters in, and then, ew, ew, ew. 5 minutes later, they're bringing their moms here and making their moms watch it. They're cracking up when their moms are going, ew, ew, ew. You know, so it's so much fun, and to be able to touch people like that, you wouldn't think is awesome.
Yep.
I mean, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
That's the same thing with me with the robots with kids
Yep.
that come.
Yeah.
I've got a rule of thirds. 33% of it is a parent bringing their kid to show them what they had growing up. 33% of it is kids, Five Nights at Freddy's or something that got them into it. And 33% is autism. I have had more kids on the spectrum that have come to see that than any other group.
Doesn't it just make you feel awesome?
It makes no sense what it is, but they will come out of their shells
It's
for
so
that.
awesome. It's so awesome to see that. And that's what my dad did this for. It's for people.
Yeah.
You know, he built this because he loved this stuff and wanted to share it with the public. And you know what? If somebody didn't like something, oh well.
There's
I
something
liked
else
it.
in here
There's
they'll
something
like.
else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's what's great about it. And what's fun is when I get in multi-generational families, because you'll get the grandfather who takes the grandkid and is showing them around stuff the grandfather grew up with, the real antiques. And then, you know, you can't tell who's having more fun. Is it the grandpa showing you stuff and remembering
or
it
the
when he was
kid.
young? Or is it the kid
Yeah.
spending time with the grandpa? Or is it the dad getting to play a game he grew up with without being bothered by his kid? Because if you take your kid to an arcade, you don't get to play a game.
No, you're too busy giving quarters out.
Exactly, you know? So that's what's just awesome about this. It is. We had a woman that was 101 who had a birthday party here. That's awesome.
And probably knew several of the things
Oh,
in here.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what's just so cool. Just all the different people that come in here. People come from all over the world. You know, there was a band, Tally Hall, who recorded an album.
Right. I got the LP, the
They were
vinyl that they
all
released.
kids that came in here growing up, and that's why they did that way. And they involved my father, and it was just awesome what they did and everything. But a cool story is that carousel over there. That is made by Peter Petz. He is a company from Germany who makes very high-end carousels and everything. And he wanted, my dad had a Model A, or a Model, which is the truck, a T. Had a Model T with a beautiful Calliope on the back that he'd drive in parades and stuff. But he got older and didn't want to do it as much because he wanted to be here. And Peter wanted it for trade shows and stuff like that in Germany. So Peter made 2 of those for us. We had one that was on location at a local mall, and this one's always been in here. Well, several years after Tally Hall came out, I had some girl on Instagram send me a message. I was in Blackpool, United Kingdom on the pier, and I saw this, and it says Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum. Do you know anything about it? And I'm like, yeah, I told
That's
you
the
the
other
whole
one.
story, and I didn't know how it ended up there eventually, but it ended up there after being sold. And I'm like, you know what, will you do me a favor? I'll send you a hoodie if you'll take a picture of it and post it on your Instagram. And so she did it. It's just so cool. You know, this thing, halfway across the world, somebody reached out to us because they found
Marvin's
us
name on it.
Yeah. And, you know, just, it's cool. It's cool. I get people from all over the world contact me, as I'm sure you do with all the crazy stuff you have. And it's just,
We just had a get-together convention at the last restaurant in the United States that has it, and they're in West Virginia. I had kids coming up to me for 3 days. I had to start carrying a Sharpie in my pocket because they would come up and want my, I'm like, what?
So I took my kid to the playoff game of the 49ers and Lions in San Francisco, okay? And because I always wear Marvin's gear, generally I wear the hoodies, but it's too warm out today, obviously. So I'm walking through the parking lot. I got stopped literally 25 times by people. Oh my God, I love that place. Oh, and I'm like, thank you. People look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, it's my business. I'm like, oh my God, I mean, just that many people knew the place when I'm in the middle of San Francisco,
California.
and wanted to take selfies with me.
Yeah.
I mean, my kid was just like, he was 10 years old.
Yeah,
He's like,
mine
God.
like, ooh, Dad, you're famous. No, I'm infamous. It's different.
Exactly. As my dad used to say, I'm a legend in my own mind. You know? And everybody asks, why'd you name it Marvin's? Why didn't you come up with something else? Why is your name everywhere? Well, if I don't put my name up, who is?
Yeah,
Everybody dreams of seeing their name up in lights. Whether
He made it his own lights. Yeah.
Yeah, so he created it. It's just everywhere.
That's so awesome.
And it's just about being unique and different.
Oddities.
Yep. Stuff that generally would be behind ropes in a museum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, over here.
Some of this older stuff, yeah.
Oh yeah. This is 119 years old. Okay. I have people who try to buy this off me all the time, and a very, very famous magician wanted to buy this. One of the most famous magicians in the world, so I'm sure you can figure out who. My dad looks at him, and when he was in here and then looks at me, he goes, well, you gotta talk to Jeremy, it's his. That's something that I've always promised him. Because when I was a little kid, it was the artist from the Detroit Zoo who restored the paint on this for us. And I used to go with my dad all the time to check it out. So he always told me it was my piece. And told the magician, no, it's not for sale. Then he offered me a pretty obnoxious amount of money, to be honest. And I'm just like, no, it's not for sale. Yeah. Because it's just, my dad worked so much. He wasn't around a ton when I was a little kid. So this was special memory. So it's not about money. It's about something that's a good memory. And it's a good memory for people, older people who come in here. They remember it from when they were kids. So, you notice there's a cutout of the planes right there? Right on the wood, how it's cut out. Well, that's because my dad had everything put up. And mind you, we had professional carpenters, builders, and everything. Everybody was so excited about it, nobody thought about measuring it. Oh my God. So as soon as they turned it on, we had a plane crash. And then we turned it out a little bit. Because raising the whole thing was just not realistic.
Jeez, a plane crash. Oh, the humanity.
This works too. I already did it earlier today.
Yeah. Everything in here works. If it doesn't, we're getting it fixed, I mean, you know how that is. No matter how perfect you keep your things,
there's something going to break. While somebody's there watching it, and you're going, get it.
But I got to tell you, it's a little easier to get parts for these kind of things than 20 years ago.
Because
now
somebody's
3D,
remaking it.
Because of 3D printers.
Yeah.
Versus back then, you used to have to find a guy with a machine shop.
To mill it.
Around here, everybody with a machine shop is doing things for the auto companies, making big money. Yeah. So asking them to do a 2 or 3 of thing was just always a nightmare. So now it's gotten a little bit easier to fix this kind of stuff.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Smart kids with 3D printers.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is.
That's an awesome story too. You can never hear it. That's awesome.
So come on back here.
There's more.
I'm sure you're familiar with the Pulver gum machines. These were like the first automated gum machine. The owner would wind it up underneath a couple times a day. The kids would put in their money, and then they'd have a little scene going.
Oh, wow.
The policeman would bop the guy on the head and all of that. And this was because the guy was one of the first gum machines, but he wanted his to be different than everything else.
You got to have something to sell it.
And there was no electricity. So as I said, underneath here is a key, like a clock winder key. You got to wind it up a few times a day.
Yeah.
And back here. So these, if you look at a bunch of the old exhibit supply cranes, you'll see this, the exact same cabinet, and all of this. And what it was during World War II and the Korean War and all that, they were rationing tin, and all the prizes back then were made out of tin. So these resourceful arcade owners figured out, hey, we have all these pulleys and gears in here, let's make a little show out of it so it's not just closed off. So you'll go somewhere else and you'll see another miser's dream, but if you pay attention to it, they're all a little bit different because it wasn't a big mass kit that was out there. It was they saw it somewhere else and they replicated it.
They wanted their own little version of it, yeah.
Because there's one at the what was it? The House on the Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, that's how these all became about, was just resourcefulness. Why should we let our cranes sit empty because we can't get any tin prizes, and that's what prizes were back then.
What year did he?
1930s. War era.
Yep.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, there's just something cool and different everywhere in here. You look up, there's stuff everywhere. You know, people always try to buy something off it.
Yeah.
And I've got the greatest standard answer in the world. What are you going to sell me even cooler to put in that place? Because if I start selling the thing, and they're like, well, it's just a picture on the wall.
All right, yeah, but there's
you
going to
know
be a
what?
hole there.
There's going to be a blank white space on
Yeah.
the wall. And I hate
gonna look
seeing
weird.
blank white
Yeah.
spaces in here. So if you got something cooler, you know, we can work out a trade or something. Otherwise, now you see who that is right behind you in the picture? No, on the left.
Eminem.
That's Eminem. He had his 40th birthday party.
Oh, did he?
My dad was friends with one of his managers, and the day of his 40th birthday party was the day that he got in a fight with Tim Mathers on 95.5, where they were on the radio and going at it like pit bulls. So he was absolutely miserable that day.
Oh my God.
And he called up my dad and was like, you know, I got to do something special. Can we do something? And we don't close for private parties, but we made an exception then because it wasn't a busy night and everything. And I got to tell you, he's the nicest guy in the world. He's so quiet and humble. I mean, but it was just his family and his very, very close friends, about 40 people. That was it. And it was just such an awesome time. And his manager at the beginning explained to us, as we already tell our employees, don't bother the celebrities. You know, just let them be, and you know, you can say hi and I love what you do, but just leave it and don't crowd them and everything. And he, at the end of it, stopped and said, everybody who's been working, please come over here. Took selfies with everybody, signed an autograph. Tony Hawk has been in here a few different times, like skateboard.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Because he was in Detroit doing a bunch of skateboard parks with the city for different charities and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, we did a lot. Penn and Teller have been in here.
No kidding.
Yeah. We actually sold Penn. Teller's one who doesn't talk. We actually sold Teller an old Ripley's Believe It or Not poster, which my dad wouldn't have sold unless it was to him, because he's obsessed with monkeys. Teller.
Yeah.
I mean, just obsessed.
Really?
And this was a Ripley's Believe It or Not poster of where I'm guessing the 30s. I don't remember the era. But where a monkey was arrested on the streets of a city in Ohio, Cleveland, or Cincinnati,
Oh my God.
for smoking a cigarette. They arrested a monkey for
that
it.
poster
It was the Ripley's Believe It or Not poster. It was a monkey in a suit, sitting in a box, a court box where he would testify, and with a cigarette in his hand, and yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love
so-
that.
You can't make this up.
I mean, it's just awesome stuff. So.
And only this building would give you a story like this. There's so many stories in this building.
He's having fun. He's out talking about his dad.
So my dad always loved sideshows. I mean, he loved the circus, the carnival, but the sideshow and the freaks were what really got him. So we had like the Panorama and a few other ones around here. But one of my dad's favorite things for carnivals when he was growing up was playing tic-tac-toe with the chicken. Because it was a live chicken back then. And my dad, in the 90s, decided, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a chicken. And then he starts talking to people, and well, all of a sudden he finds out that there's PETA, and chickens have rights, and they can only work 2-hour shifts. So then he was going to have a bunch of chickens in a chicken coop to cycle them out in the city of Farmington Hills.
Try to do that here.
Yeah, the city of Farmington Hills like, no, sorry Marvin, we love you, we let you get away with everything, no live chickens. So, Matt Hawkins designed the tic-tac-toe challenge with us, where you play with a robotic chicken.
Oh, that's awesome.
Do not feed.
We'll make it happen.
so much fun.
It was. It was interesting.
Like perpetually stuck as an adolescent in the wonder of everything.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing.
So
That's what
Pot, meat, kettle.
Ripley's, believe it or not, in Las Vegas. They were there for years in a small strip mall.
Yeah.
And the mall ended up getting sold to Turnberry Place, where they were building those 3 big high-rise condo buildings. And so Ripley's had to close that. And when Ripley's closes, they're supposed to destroy the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, my dad was friends with the manager, and we have Robert Wadlow, the world's tallest man back there, the heaviest man, all kinds of different things around here that were from Ripley's.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, and the wizard guy. That guy's
Yep.
still around.
The tattoo girl, all kinds of stuff like that.
That all came from Vegas.
Yep.
And they sold it to him. That is awesome.
Yep. So, I mean, it's just, there's stories behind everything. It was all done out of passion. The Marvin's energy machine there, we can't keep that running, haven't been able to for years. But that was made by a guy named Vern Preston, who was one of the original Disney Imagineers. My dad somehow found him, got in touch with him.
chicken.
And the guy had no interest in building things, but then my dad sent him some news clippings of our place, and he just fell in love and saw that this was about passion. And he created several really cool pieces for us over the years before he passed. But he was one of the original Imagineers who worked for Walt Disney.
Yeah, those are really fun.
Yeah, yeah, they really are.
You could just sit there and stare at
Yep.
them for hours.
So, I mean, just all kinds of little insanity.
I mean, everything on the wall.
So if you look back there behind a lot of the stuff, like there you see the monkey driving the car and all that.
Yeah.
Those were from the Detroit Zoo. They used to have a chimpanzee show where it was like, you know, the circus was back then, where they drive cars and all kinds of things. Well, my father, we owned a drugstore in Detroit.
Yeah.
And expired baby milk, you're supposed to just throw it away. You don't send it back to the company, you're
Yeah.
supposed to throw it away and they
Yeah.
give you credit. My dad felt terrible about throwing it away, and he knew some people who worked at the zoo, and they're like, we can use it for animals whose mothers aren't nursing. Somehow it works for certain animals. So for years he was donating it all to them, just taking it down there himself in his van, dropping it off and everything. And when they closed the chip show, they let him take all that different stuff. So they're all kind of covered by a bunch of different stuff, but that's what they're from.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. That is wild.
Yep. Yep.
So amazing.
So,
How amazing.
Oh, here we go.
He's just
good.
doing that.
Yeah.
For the sake of doing it, you know? Not because there's a payback at the end.
so you see that bronze sign back there. Cass Tech was Detroit's first model school, where they if you were a very talented musician, singer, they had the top programs in the country for that. Many of the Motown artists went to school there. That was the dedication plaque that was right in front of the school when you walked in every day. The city of Detroit, when they demolished the school, didn't save that. A scrapper I knew went through and took it, and he thought he was going to sell it for a lot of money and tried for several years, and just there were no buyers. And he contacted me, he's like, you know what, I'll sell it to you for over scrap, but I'm going to charge you, I think it was $250 for delivery. He thinks heavy as could be, I'm fine with that. So, I mean, the most famous people from Detroit went to that school.
Oh, yeah.
And I have that here.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is
The Wonder Bread Factory, which is now Motor City Casino. It was right by Tiger Stadium, so when you would go into the game, you always smelled Wonder Bread baking. That was the transom that hung between the executive offices and the factory. Yeah. You know, I'm just fortunate because we're so well known, just like I'm sure you get. People contact you when they have cool stuff that aligns with you, and you know, either want to sell it to you, or once in a while you get somebody who wants to donate it to you too.
Because they know it's going to be protected, looked at,
Yep.
viewed,
Yep.
and kept safe.
But yeah, I mean, so someday when I close, I'll donate that to the Detroit Historical Museum or something like that, and hopefully they'll have interest and realize how bad they messed up before.
Jeez.
I mean, you saw the Cardiff Giant back there, didn't you?
Well, you were talking about it.
That's
Yeah, they're back there.
This way to the egress. There was a P.T. Barnum famous thing. Nobody knew when he couldn't get them to leave out of the tents, you know, when they were staring at the stuff. They would just loiter and hang out continuously. So he put up a sign, this way to the egress. Nobody knew what egress meant back then.
Let's go see what it was.
Right outside. So Big Boy. Big Boy was a famous chain restaurant. There were several here in Michigan, and I always wanted them. I was going to get a loft, not the restaurant, I wanted the Big Boy statue. And I was going to get a loft in Detroit. You know, I never ended up getting a loft, but I got my Big Boy statue.
That's awesome. So I worked there when I was a teenager, and we ordered one on the Carnival, and they're like, "There's no way they're delivering this to us." Sure enough, that delivery truck showed up, and out came Big Boy. It's a smaller version, but that still exists.
Yep.
My buddy's basement.
That's awesome.
Everybody wants Big Boy.
So that is the Cardiff Giant. P.T. Barnum's
P.T.
greatest
Barnum.
hoax of all times. That's P.T. Barnum's actual Cardiff Giant. But what it is P.T. Barnum actually copied somebody else. There was a farmer in upstate New York, George Hall, I believe is the name. I may be mistaken. But he had this brilliant idea that he was going to make a statue, bury it on his property, and the next year he was going to have all of his friends over for a barn digging party. Because that's what you did back then. You went and helped your friend dig his barn out because there was no TV, there was no entertainment, so you all went there and dug out a barn. And all of a sudden, oh my goodness, they hit this statue. They think it's they claim it's a lost petrified giant. P.T. Barnum, the guy made a couple $100,000 and a nickel a head, and P.T. Barnum wanted to buy it. The guy refused to sell it to P.T. Barnum. People at this point already knew it was a total fake. Well, P.T. Barnum went and did the same thing, and he made something like $1 million in the first year, even though they knew it was a fake. But because it was P.T. Barnum, they all came to see it.
Jeez.
Awesome. I mean, that's incredible. That is awesome.
You know, these are all old posters from when Neon, like the Mutascopes, like the one that we just looked at on the other side, Baby Cyclone, Dance Magic. They were always targeted towards men. And, you know, back then, there weren't the magazines that we had growing up.
Yeah.
So they would always watch those things, and obviously always cut out right before there was any excitement.
Yeah.
There was no excitement because they couldn't have it out.
Right.
But, you know, everybody put in their penny to look at them back then. You'll see there's a ton of signs along the HVAC venting with quotes with my dad's name on it. Well, everybody's
Dr. Marvin.
Everybody's like, well, you know, so-and-so said that. And he goes, yeah, and I said it too. You know, who's to say that whoever's credited was really the first person to say it?
That is so
You know, it's
genius.
just they were the most famous person to say it, so people remembered it. But yeah, he literally sat there with a book of quotes and picked out the cool stuff and put his name on it because he did say it. Never claim to be the first one to say it.
I said it.
Yep.
That's his quote.
So much, just
And his
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you so much for taking time. I mean, you know,
absolutely. I'm so glad you reached out.
you know, that's like me when somebody comes and they start talking about it. My passion kicks in, and I start rambling. Oh, we're there for hours. So I know, I understand it. I just.
You know, my dad never thought that I got it or listened to him, but I think he'd be surprised now at how much I did listen and learn.
It was there.
You know.
You just weren't, you know, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's just, we were always butting heads because I was a teenager and, you know.
Yeah.
That's what teenagers do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can't. Yeah, you look into mine. Yeah, you look on down to mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of this. It's just, I'm constantly adding new stuff as I find it.
Yeah.
Because it's just cool to have it and to show it and let other people see it. The worst thing ever is we were shut down for so long in this state with COVID.
COVID.
It just killed, it absolutely killed me. And you know, I still had to pay rent because my landlord still had to pay his bill.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it. I'm not mad at him.
Yeah,
but I mean, that long, it killed me, and we were so lucky to make it through it, because we had a bunch of fans. Somebody started to GoFundMe, and a bunch of people contributed. It's just awesome and marvelous to see that. It really is, because it was tough. Yeah. So we used to have a lot more video games in the 90s, and we used to get a lot more high school kids and all of that. And just unfortunately, as time evolved, that crowd equated more and more problems. So we ended up switching to ticket games and stuff like that. We didn't get rid of any of the antiques, but we got rid of the fighting games and things like that. Because you know how it is, when you and your buddy are playing, you get heated, and even if you're best friends, words come out, and it just wasn't family friendly. So we totally changed it all around. Kept all the antiques and just brought in more things from the middle.
That is super cool. It's a perfect combination. Like more modern
The way
games.
the video game market has changed now, they don't produce video games like they did in the 90s. And people don't play it like they did. There's this Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, everything. Now, it's none of that. It's totally different.
I always go to the hip bars. Love what you gotta do.
Yep. I always buy the top level trim. I always buy the toppers for them. We have the best pinball games around because I'm very fortunate. We have a local collector who's very passionate that comes and helps us keep them clean and maintained. And he runs leagues here. And his buddies come here to play because they know he takes care of the games and they're in good shape. While when you go to a bar, it's hit or miss if they've been taking care of the game.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, ours are always great shape, well
So
taken
they're
care
awesome
of.
quarters.
Yep.
And then he goes around and takes pictures of it.
Takes pictures of everything. So yeah, this is our Marvelous Madness, and it's a sensory overload in many ways, but that's what makes it awesome. There's something everywhere for everyone, and it's flattering when you get these people in who tell you how touched they are or their memories. It really is.
Hearing about your dad?
Yep, absolutely.
Something you didn't even know?
Yeah, some of it, absolutely. Yeah.
You'll hear something
Oh,
from
yeah.
somebody about dad and you'll just be like,
Well, our drugstore was in a bad area of Detroit, a really rough
is there a
area.
good area of Detroit?
Yeah, there are some. But so I remember in the mid-'80s, my dad calls my mom, 10 o'clock at night, Gene, my car broke down. I'm right a block from the drugstore. My mom goes to pick him up. I'm in the car. He's surrounded by a bunch of teenagers in his parking lot. My mom used to carry a gun because of the business and everything. She pulls up, one hand in her purse, one hand in the steering wheel, and she's getting out of the car. Oh, Miss Marvin, don't worry, we're taking care of Marvin. Marvin gave my mom medicine when she couldn't afford it, and all those things. So you take care of people, they take care of you.
Take care of you.
One thing that my dad always used to say is be kinder than necessary and treat everyone else how you want to be treated.
And that's free.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
does not
no,
cost
it doesn't.
a dime to act or live by
No,
that.
absolutely. And it's just the way to be, My wife, we got married later in life, and we're going out to dinner a lot when we're first starting dating, and I like to go to nice restaurants. And one night she's just like, what is the story? Do you eat out like every single night? Like, no, why? She goes, every restaurant we go to, the waiters know you by name. They're excited when they see you. They make sure we get taken care of.